We are going to start with our opening batsman. Professor Lani is going to show you something which is really going to knock your legs off. Dr. Lani.
Good morning, respected Nagpal sir, all AIOS, and thank you Lalit that you have started this, and Amar for inviting me. And now this is a simple case because the other cases I have shown all over in the OPL, so I am not repeating the case. Now this is the case where the patient is non-affording patient. You can see the subluxation, and on other side of subluxation I am doing the small incision cataract surgery because I am that also small incision cataract surgeon and also the phaco surgeon. Now here, because you see on that side the subluxation is there, because of that I am trying the rhexis, and this rhexis, whenever I am trying, I want to make it slightly larger so that the nucleus, which is a hard one, it is a nuclear cataract, and I should bring that nucleus out. And so, but because of the subluxation, the rhexis was small. So if I manipulate it, it will be difficult to remove that nucleus. Then I thought, okay, I should go for the CTR. And then I am just putting a CTR, and once the CTR is in, then again I thought, okay, now this is the CTR, I am this one. Now the people can say it should be a Shivani ring, then you should suture. Think of India. 80% of India is in the rural area, no Shivani, no Tivani, nothing. Sometime you can get such type of thing. And here the CTR, okay, we can get sometimes CTR there. So I am injecting just implanting the CTR. Injector is not there because I am surgeon working in government medical college. So because of that, not possible. Now see, but by manipulation, successfully I put it. But the nucleus you will see, very large nucleus, and I can't see, I am trying to manipulate the nucleus, and you can see how the ring is happening. See, the ring is coming, and I thought, now the phaco, because one of my retina surgeon was watching, and he was telling, now he was just there to catch this, because it was going to be behind, and now I have started doing a phaco so that I can make the two pieces. And here you will see now the nucleus, and whenever I am moving, you can see the everything. You can see the CTR and everything is moving. And so, see now here. And because of that, I am unable to do the two pieces also, and any small force can trouble me. So I am trying to do the phaco by whatever you can say the stop and chop or chop and everything. But by grace of God, see here, by two instrument and by this one, because by phaco it was not possible. Lastly, I used the two instruments. So this is the old golden technique that you can use the two instruments. And then now see, by one instrument I am bringing this nucleus piece out, and after bringing this out, the another thing I use is a glide. So here I am putting the glide and removing that half piece, and the retina surgeon is again sitting there, and he is ready because he will have to come and take this case. But by the just fear of the retina surgeon, it came out. It is not because of I brought it out. And then you can see I removed everything, and you can see this, the very good bag, and I have implanted the rigid IOL. You can see this is the rigid IOL I have implanted, and patient was 6/6 on second day. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, our next presenter is Dr. Ravijit from Amritsar. Dr. Ravijit, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. May I have my video and the sound also, please? Strand of iridodialysis. In case this had failed, I would have then gone in for a scleral supported lens. So I'm going to try and make the best use of the tissues available rather than going for a scleral supported lens. So once the dissection of the iris is complete, an iris claw lens is now to be implanted behind the iris. On the nasal side, it is not much of a challenge because there is enough tissue. Whereas on the temporal side, I have to implant the lens to this very thin strand. And the first time I enclaved it, it wasn't firm enough. So then I re-implanted, trying to enclave the tissue into the claw. Test it again, if it is firm enough, seems like. And then anterior vitrectomy and capsulectomy. This is the pre-op picture of the patient. And this is 4-month post-op picture of the same patient. He ends up with -1 sphere, -1 cylinder, 6/9 partial. After a hard day's work, now it's time to play. And we're going to play ball. It's a patient, 4-year-old, with congenital cataract. And look what I discovered when I started doing phaco, or irrigation aspiration to be precise. Nearly 9 to 10 of these very hard balls were I encountered in the cataract, and they were slightly larger than 0.3, because you see they cannot be aspirated through the 0.3 port of the irrigating aspirating cannula. So I have to catch hold of these balls and then crush them. So literally it is crushing and pushing them through the aspiration port. Both eyes of this patient had a similar presentation, and I haven't seen this presentation ever before in all the patients of congenital cataracts that I've done. So it took a long time. Every time the balls would slip away. Thank you very much.
Friends, we come to the third step. It's a case about fixing lenses different ways. Now here's a patient who comes to me with a history of diminished vision, and then I realize that his lens is sinking. And to my great surprise, when this hydrophobic lens is taken out, I realized that he has a bag and there was a deficiency in the lower part. And so I decide to utilize the same bag and use the same lens. And this is a modified segment which is fixed through the bag by a technique which is flapless suture technique, in which you take series of sutures in the sclera, and you don't really need a knot there nor a flap. And then I use triamcinolone and look for any vitreous, and then clean it, open up the bag, and to my great surprise, the bag is intact and the lens is sitting well into the center, and it does give me quite a good post-op results. This was one way of fixing, and post-op, 1 week later, he's 6'9", and here's another lens. A patient comes with a history of trauma a week before, and that gives him a lens which has subluxated, and it's literally sinking there. Then I'm wondering how to go about it. There's a way of either getting it out or do it by the technique that has been popularized by Amar, but I have a different take on this. I inject pilocarpine, constrict the pupil, and get the lens optic in front, and then I inject dispersive viscoelastic to tend the haptic so that you can identify it, and then position it in the most appropriate location where I can use Sipser knot. This is a 9/0 straight needle. You make one opening, and then the needle is pushed out through the cornea, and use a hook to bring out the suture, and use the popular Sipser technique, Sipser knot, to secure the haptic. And once you have done it, go to the next haptic, and once in a while you have to inject viscoelastic so that the iris presses on the haptic and haptic can be identified clearly. And once this knot is tied, it's only a single knot, then the next step is to go with the cutter and do vitrectomy behind the lens and in front, and then get the lens pushed back and secure that your pupil is central and circular. And having done that, you can go back and complete the suturing. The most big advantage of this is that you don't have to really make an opening to get the lens out, or you need to make larger openings through two side ports. You can complete this procedure and the lens is secured well and the pupil is circular, and it gives you a quick visual rehab to the patient, where the patient in a week's time can hope to have a normal vision. And with this, I come to the end of my two different ways of fixing a lens that I wish to show you. Thank you so much.
Going from the adults down, we now go to a child, where I'm going to demonstrate to you how you fixate a spherophakia case in a small little child. As you notice here, the lens is completely free, literally floating in the anterior chamber. And now the question is, how do we handle this lens? The original idea that we thought was, could we use part of the capsule as it is? So we said we'll go inside and we'll make a little opening at the side. With the same diamond knife, enter the lens and then aspirate out the lens, which is what we are doing at present. The lens, as it starts to aspirate it, you'll notice it gradually shrinks and comes into place, which seems to be a simple way of handling these spherophakia cases without too much difficulty. Final bit goes in. As you notice, the capsular bag is there. It is now totally shrunken. There's no way we can use it. So the only option now is to stabilize the lens, utilizing the method where we can suture the lens, or we can utilize two little loops and then use the Amar Agarwal technique of glue dye oil. Considering it is a child and considering he is going to be rubbing the eyes, sutures are likely to give way. We thought glued would be the best way to go. We placed the lens inside the eye, rotated it into place, held one of the loops out, brought it into place, fixed it under the edge of the flap, as you can see, and then just simply rotated the lens out. One of the disadvantages, you don't have much support inside, especially in little children. The whole eye is soggy and soft, and handling it becomes technically a little difficult, but we managed comfortably to make the appropriate openings on both sides and to get the loops out and then to snake the loops in. As you notice, the loops have been come out. I normally like to bend the edge of my loop back inwards at a side port, make an additional port at the side, unlike the standard method which is being done, and we tend to loop our lenses inside, which then sutures and locks it into place. One of the advantages of using a bent loop method of utilizing fixation is, irrespective of whether the child will rub his eye or not, nothing is going to happen and the lens will remain stable, hopefully forever. Having done that, we glue the edges back into place, and that closes the procedure as it is. Put a little glue, stick it back in and close it. One big advantage of utilizing glue is when a child when sutures cause a lot of irritation, child doesn't open his eye. With this method, the problem would solve itself. Thank you very much. The judges will please note we are well in time.
Thank you very much, Keki.